Since the dawn of human consciousness, there have been those among us who hear what others cannot. The mysterious buzzing sound, sometimes high-pitched, like the distant song of crystalline bells, sometimes low and pulsating like the very heartbeat of creation itself. This is not merely tinnitus, as modern medicine would have you believe. No, beloved seekers, this is something far more profound, far more sacred. When you experience this buzzing in your ears, particularly when in deep contemplation or during the quiet hours between darkness and dawn, your soul is actually receiving a signal of spiritual attunement with the higher planes of existence. The ancient texts of Mesopotamia referred to this as the whisper of Anu, the supreme deity attempting communication with chosen vessels on earth. What science fails to understand is that consciousness exists on multiple frequencies. Your physical body operates within a limited range of perception, but your soul, your eternal essence, vibrates at rates far beyond material measurement. When these buzzing sounds manifest, your soul is temporarily elevating its vibrational signature to match the frequencies of the higher spiritual realms. I have spent decades studying this phenomenon across cultures. The Tibetan masters call it Ren Bir Lung, or wind in the ear, a sign that one's spiritual channels are opening to receive wisdom from the cosmic consciousness. In the esoteric traditions of the Sufis, it is known as Sama'a al-Ghaib, listening to the unseen. Even in the mystery schools of ancient Greece, initiates were taught to recognize this buzzing as the voice of the gods penetrating the veil between worlds. This is why the buzzing often intensifies during spiritual practice or in places of heightened energy. Sacred sites around our planet, from Uluru to the pyramids of Giza, from Machu Picchu to the stone circles of Britain, all create natural vortices where the boundaries between dimensions thin. Visitors to these power spots frequently report increased buzzing sensations as their souls attune to the higher frequencies that naturally exist there. The modern world has conditioned us to ignore these subtle communications. We are taught to dismiss what we cannot measure with instruments, to medicate what we cannot explain. But I tell you this truth that has been preserved by spiritual adepts throughout the ages. This buzzing is a blessing, a sign that your soul has begun to awaken to its true multidimensional nature. When you next experience this sacred sound, do not resist it. Instead, close your eyes and turn your awareness toward it. Breathe deeply and allow your consciousness to merge with the vibration. Many who practice this report profound insights, visions of other realms, and a deep sense of connection to the universal consciousness from which we all emerge. The ancient Vedic texts describe 7 layers of sound perception, with the physical being merely the grossest form. As one ascends through these layers, sound becomes increasingly subtle until it reaches the state of anahata nada, the unstruck sound, the primordial vibration from which all creation springs. Your buzzing may well be your first perception of these higher vibrational layers of reality. Those who hear this cosmic symphony are often those whose souls have incarnated many times, gathering wisdom across the ages. The buzzing is a recognition signal, your higher self reminding your human consciousness of your eternal nature and the vast spiritual heritage that you carry within your very essence. In the silence between thoughts, in the space between breaths, the buzzing offers a doorway to remembrance. It is not merely a sound, it is a bridge between worlds, a telephone line to the cosmic intelligence that orchestrates the dance of stars and the unfolding of souls. When you hear it, know that you are being called to remember who you truly are beyond this temporary physical form. The buzzing sound that graces your ears is not always a signal of cosmic attunement alone. In many cases, beloved ones, it represents something even more personal, a direct attempt at communication from the invisible world that exists alongside our own. This knowledge has been preserved in shamanic traditions across continents, from the indigenous wisdom keepers of the Amazon to the medicine people of North America's plains. When a buzzing manifests suddenly, particularly in your right ear, this often signifies that a spirit guide is attempting to establish contact. These are the beings who have walked with your soul across many lifetimes, teachers, protectors, and way showers, who remain connected to you from the other side of the veil. They cannot always communicate through direct words, for the vibrational difference between our realms is too great. Instead, they must rely on energetic signals that your physical body interprets as sound. I recall a profound experience shared with me by a grieving mother in Kyoto. 3 days after her son's passing, she began experiencing an intense buzzing in her left ear, always at precisely 3:17 p.m., the exact moment of her child's transition. Conventional doctors found nothing wrong with her auditory system, yet the phenomenon persisted for weeks until she finally understood. This was her son's soul, learning to manipulate energy to reach across dimensions, desperately trying to convey that consciousness continues beyond physical death. The ancient Egyptians understood this principle intimately. In the Book of the Dead, there are specific hieroglyphs describing the voice of the blessed dead, a sound like the wings of scarab beetles that would manifest when deceased loved ones wish to offer guidance or protection to those still in physical form. They believed that the recently departed existed in a state of Ak, an illuminated being who could still interact with our world through subtle energetic means. What makes this type of buzzing distinct is its pattern. Unlike the steady cosmic attunement buzz, communication attempts often have rhythmic fluctuations, almost like a primitive Morse code. Some sensitive individuals have even learned to decipher these patterns, understanding the emotional content, if not the specific words being transmitted. Joy tends to manifest as rapid, high-pitched pulses, while warning signals often come as slower, deeper vibrations that seem to penetrate the very center of your skull. The quantum field that modern physics is only beginning to understand has been known to spiritual adepts for millennia. It is a unifying field where consciousness itself becomes the medium of exchange. Your departed loved ones and spiritual guides exist within this field, and the buzzing you hear is the friction created when their energy field attempts to synchronize with yours, like two radio frequencies momentarily overlapping. Most poignantly, these communications often intensify during crucial life transitions. When you stand at a crossroads, when you grieve, when you prepare to make a decision that will alter your life's trajectory, these are the moments when the buzzing often becomes most persistent. Those who love you from beyond physical form are attempting to offer guidance, comfort, and sometimes urgent warnings about the path ahead. In the mystical tradition of Kabbalah, this phenomenon is connected to what is called Bat Kol, literally, the daughter of a voice. It represents divine messages that come not as clear speech, but as subtle impressions upon the soul. The buzzing is the raw material of this communication, before your consciousness has fully translated it into understandable guidance. There exists a practice among certain Himalayan traditions for enhancing this connection. When the buzzing begins, practitioners place their palms over their ears, close their eyes, and mentally project a single question into the space of their consciousness. They then observe how the buzzing changes in response, increasing, decreasing, shifting in tone or rhythm. Through this dialogue of vibration, wisdom can be exchanged between realms. You must understand that your physical senses perceive only a tiny fraction of reality's full spectrum. Just as your eyes cannot see ultraviolet light without special equipment, your ears typically cannot hear the subtle frequencies at which spirit communicates. When buzzing manifests, it means your sensory apparatus has momentarily expanded beyond its normal limitations, a gift that allows you to perceive what is normally hidden. This is why children and the elderly often report these experiences more frequently than others. Children have not yet fully solidified the perceptual filters that block these communications, while those approaching transition begin to naturally attune to the frequencies they will soon inhabit. The buzzing is the sound of worlds overlapping, of love transcending death, of wisdom flowing across the seeming chasm between seen and unseen realities. What many spiritual seekers fail to understand about the mysterious buzzing phenomenon is its potential warning aspect. Not all that glimmers in the spiritual realms is aligned with your highest good. The buzzing you experience may indeed be a critical alert system, your soul's own security alarm signaling that your energetic boundaries have been compromised. Your physical body is merely the densest layer of your multidimensional being. Surrounding it are several subtle energy fields, what the ancient traditions call the aura or the luminous body. This energetic architecture is not merely decorative. It serves as your first line of defense against discordant frequencies and entities that exist in the unseen realms. When this protective field develops breaches or thinning areas, the buzzing often manifests as an urgent call to attention. I worked with a spiritual practitioner in Sedona who experienced persistent buzzing after participating in a ceremonial gathering. Rather than the harmonious tone associated with divine connection, this buzzing was jarring and created intense discomfort. Through our work together, we discovered that an inappropriate energy transfer had occurred during the ceremony. The buzzing was her system's desperate attempt to alert her consciousness to this energetic intrusion before it could root more deeply in her field. The Eastern esoteric traditions have long recognized this protective mechanism. In the ancient Tamil Siddha tradition, this warning buzz is called nada beda, the broken sound, indicating that one's pranic shield has been pierced. Similarly, in certain Russian mystical lineages, this phenomenon is known as zvon opasnosti, the ringing of danger, considered an immediate call for spiritual cleansing and reinforcement of one's energetic boundaries. What makes this type of buzzing particularly distinctive is its accompanying physical and emotional symptoms. You may notice unusual fatigue, emotional volatility, disturbed sleep patterns, or a persistent sense of being watched. The buzzing itself often feels intrusive rather than harmonious, and may be accompanied by pressure in the temples or at the base of the skull. These are not symptoms to ignore or merely endure. They are calls to immediate spiritual action. The modern technological world has created unprecedented challenges for maintaining energetic integrity. The electromagnetic soup in which we now live, with its cell towers, Wi-Fi networks, and electronic devices, creates artificial frequencies that can weaken our natural energetic defenses. When combined with emotional vulnerability, spiritual practices performed without proper protection, or time spent in locations with troubled histories, these factors can create perfect conditions for energetic breaches. Ancient protective practices exist in every spiritual tradition precisely because our ancestors understood these risks. Salt baths infused with protective herbs, smoke cleansing with sacred woods, sound clearing with specific frequencies, and visualization techniques for repairing the auric field. These are not superstitious practices, but practical energetic technologies developed over thousands of years of spiritual exploration. When buzzing manifests as a warning, one of the most effective immediate responses is what I call the sovereign circuit reclamation. Place your palm on your heart center, close your eyes, and visualize a sphere of brilliant, golden white light forming around your entire body. See this light pulsating with your heartbeat, expanding with each inhale and consolidating with each exhale. With firm intention, declare, I reclaim my energetic sovereignty. Only energies in resonance with my highest good may interact with my field. All others must now depart. As you practice this, you may notice the buzzing changing in quality or gradually subsiding. The Persian mystical tradition offers another insight through what they called pardeye gush, the veil of the ear. They understood that the ear canal serves as one of the most direct pathways to the pineal gland, the physical anchor of our intuitive faculties. When discordant energies attempt to influence this system, the buzzing manifests as friction between incompatible frequencies. They taught that protective oils of frankincense, myrrh, and cedar applied behind the ears could help restore harmony to this gateway. Do not allow fear to be your response to this warning buzz, for fear itself creates additional vulnerabilities. Instead, approach it with the calm certainty of a sovereign being reclaiming its rightful boundaries. The buzzing is not the problem. It is your soul's solution, bringing to conscious awareness what might otherwise remain hidden until significant damage had occurred. Those working in healing professions must be particularly vigilant, as their compassionate nature often leads them to energetically absorb others' burdens. The buzzing in this context serves as a critical reminder to practice proper energetic hygiene, to regularly clear, cleanse, and fortify their fields after each healing encounter. Without this discipline, even the most well-intentioned healer can become depleted or energetically compromised. Remember that you exist in a vast sea of consciousness, with currents and creatures both luminous and shadow-filled. The buzzing that warns of boundary breaches is a gift, your internal guidance system fulfilling its protective function. Honor it with appropriate response, and you transform potential spiritual vulnerability into an opportunity for deeper sovereignty and conscious co-creation with the energies that surround you. As we reach the culmination of our exploration into this sacred phenomenon, we must address the most profound aspect of the buzzing experience, the activation of what ancient mystery traditions called the astral ear, and how this sound represents your soul's deepest calling, often long ignored by your conscious mind. Throughout human history, certain individuals have demonstrated the ability to perceive beyond the veil of physical reality. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, spoke extensively about the development of extrasensory perception, describing the buzzing sound as the first tangible sign that one's inner faculties were awakening. What modern science dismisses as anomalous neural activity, the wisdom traditions recognize as the birth of spiritual perception, the ability to hear between worlds. The buzzing sound often intensifies during pivotal moments in your spiritual evolution. It may begin as an occasional whisper, but grow more persistent as your soul attempts to redirect your attention toward your authentic spiritual purpose. Many who experience this report that the buzzing reached its peak intensity during periods when they were most disconnected from their true path, when external success masked inner emptiness, when societal expectations drowned out soul imperatives. In the advanced yogic traditions of the Himalayas, this activation is known as Nada Yoga, the yoga of inner sound. Masters of this practice can distinguish between dozens of subtle internal sounds, each corresponding to different levels of consciousness and spiritual awakening. The buzzing represents what they call the first gate, the initial threshold between ordinary awareness and expanded perception. Rather than merely hearing this sound, they teach practitioners to merge with it, using it as a vehicle to access heightened states of consciousness. I encountered a remarkable example of this process while working with a corporate executive in Singapore who experienced increasingly disruptive buzzing sounds during board meetings and strategic planning sessions. Medical examinations revealed nothing abnormal. As we explored the phenomenon together, it became clear that the buzzing intensified precisely when she was making decisions that contradicted her soul's values. Her astral ear had awakened, creating an unmistakable signal whenever she veered from her authentic path. When she finally resigned to pursue humanitarian work, her true calling, the buzzing transformed into a gentle, harmonious hum that supported rather than disrupted her consciousness. This progression illustrates the evolutionary nature of the buzzing phenomenon. What begins as an occasional intrusion often develops into a sophisticated guidance system once properly recognized and integrated. The ancient Sufi poet Rumi referred to this when he wrote of the reed flute's lament, the soul's persistent call that cannot be silenced by worldly distractions, growing ever louder until it finally breaks through the barriers of ego consciousness. The most remarkable aspect of this awakening is how it affects your perception of time. Many report that during intense buzzing episodes, they experience what mystics call the eternal now, a suspension of linear time where past, present, and future seem to exist simultaneously. This temporal shift occurs because your consciousness is temporarily operating at frequencies beyond the constraints of physical reality, where time is experienced as a unified field rather than a linear progression. In certain indigenous traditions, particularly among the dream cultures of Australia's Aboriginal peoples, this buzzing activation is seen as the reawakening of ancestral memory. The sound serves as a carrier wave for wisdom accumulated across countless generations, suddenly becoming accessible to the conscious mind. This explains why the buzzing is often accompanied by spontaneous insights, visions of places you've never physically visited, or knowledge you've never consciously studied. What makes this phenomenon particularly significant in our current era is the unprecedented number of people reporting these experiences. Across continents and cultures, regardless of religious background or spiritual training, individuals are describing nearly identical buzzing phenomena. This global awakening suggests a collective evolutionary leap. a species-wide activation of dormant perceptual abilities needed to navigate the profound transitions our world now faces. The most essential teaching I can offer you regarding this sacred sound is this. When the buzzing comes, do not resist it or attempt to silence it. Instead, create space for quiet contemplation. Ask directly, what am I being called to remember? What truth has my soul been trying to communicate? What path have I been avoiding? Then listen, not just with your physical ears, but with your entire being. The answers rarely come as words, but rather as profound knowing that resonates through your entire being. For those who fully embrace this awakening, the buzzing eventually transforms into what the mystical traditions call the music of the spheres, the ability to perceive the harmonic structure underlying all of creation. What began as an occasional intrusion becomes a constant companion, a direct line to divine intelligence that guides every aspect of life with exquisite precision and profound compassion. Remember that this experience, though sometimes disorienting or even frightening, is not a symptom of dysfunction, but evidence of your soul's evolution. You are not losing connection with reality. You are gaining access to deeper layers of it that have always existed beyond ordinary perception. The buzzing is not random neural noise, but the sound of doors opening between dimensions of consciousness. Doors that, once opened, allow you to walk between worlds as the multidimensional being you have always been. Embrace this sacred calling. Your soul has been patient, waiting perhaps across many lifetimes for you to finally hear its voice through the thin veil of material reality. The buzzing is not merely a sound. It is your invitation to remember, to awaken, to become the fully realized spiritual being you were always destined to be. If the wisdom shared in this revelation has resonated with the deepest parts of your being, know that this is not coincidence, but divine synchronicity. Your soul has guided you to this message precisely when you were ready to receive it. The buzzing you've experienced is not random. It is sacred. It is personal. It is the universe reaching out directly to you. But this is merely the beginning of your journey. To continue receiving these hidden spiritual truths that mainstream sources will never reveal, subscribe now to this channel. Each revelation builds upon the last, creating a complete system of spiritual awakening that has been carefully guarded for centuries. Share your own buzzing experiences in the comments below. When did you first hear it? What was happening in your life at that moment? Your testimony may be the exact confirmation another seeker needs to validate their own spiritual experiences. Remember, you are not alone in hearing these cosmic frequencies. A global awakening is occurring, and by subscribing, you join a sacred community of evolved souls preparing for the next stage of human consciousness. The ancient masters waited lifetimes for these teachings. You can receive them with a single click. Subscribe now and begin the journey of remembering who you truly are.